is up, guys? Welcome back for another video. I'm going to be getting into some Volkswagen stuff today, so I know I've had a couple people ask about doing some more of that. So just got back from a trip to South Carolina and Georgia. Went down to a big Volkswagen show in Helen and turned out really good. But anyway, went to my good friend's house and I bought some parts off him for the bus a little over a year ago, and shipping is just outrageous right now, and I had, going down there anyway, so went ahead and picked them up and got some bus wheels, and I'm getting them all blown out and cleaned off right now. I got 4 nice original paint ones. Obviously I haven't cleaned these things up just yet, but being that this bus is going to stay original paint and patinaed, these wheels will be absolutely perfect. And these are the 14s. I do believe 64 was the first year for the 14s. They ran 15s all the way up till 63. So it'll make the bias ply size, finding what I want, a little more difficult, because I like the looks of what they have available for the 15s, but we'll make do and we'll find what we need. But these are all in pretty nice shape. Got the air compressor kicked on, and we're out here cleaning these things off. This is a nice patinaed one as well. I'm getting ready to blow it all off. And then after I get these things all cleaned off, I probably won't do it today, but I'll go through and clean these things up real nice and make them look good. So might even throw a couple on there to test fit, just to see it with some bus wheels on it for once. And after that, we're gonna get over on this thing. Got to change the points out on it, kind of get her tuned up for the season, so we'll start there. So we'll go ahead and get these things cleaned up, and then we'll get over to dressing that car. Okay, so basically I just wanted to blow these things out for storage. Got them all the crap blown out of them from sitting outside. Got them tossed back up in the attic. I ended up not test fitting them, but they're at least stored up and ready to go for when I make the bus a roller again. So pretty stoked. They're all in really good shape, so that was good. All right, we got those wheels all cleaned up and put in the attic. I also picked up 3 side pop-outs from them. Those are sprayed black on the outside, but they're original paint on the inside. This stuff will strip off super easy. The original ones for my bus were super rotted out. If I didn't remove them, I probably could have just left them in and ran them, but they still opened up and everything, but they were rough. So I already got new outer seals, and we can slip those on all 3 of those. And I also bought 3 more because there's 6 total. This is an opted 6 pop-out bus. On each side. So you got 3 over there, 3 over here, that's 6. And I kind of just pitched my old ones, kept the glass out of them because the glass was in good shape. Found 3 original paint ones I've had for a while. And then Kyle got me these original paint ones as well. So now I got a good set to toss in this thing with new seals, and they'll seal up real good. So I'm pretty stoked on that. We'll get these taken up there and put them up in the attic with the rest of my bus stuff to stay safe. And then we'll get over to changing the points out on the 59. points all swapped out, got those gapped. I didn't change the condenser just because it's working and running just fine. I got a new one in case it would take a crap while I'm driving it. Anyway, I had to confirm what these points are supposed to be gapped at, and I was right, which is why I was looking through that manual, and got everything put back together as you saw. So we'll go ahead and go hit the key and fire this thing up. Before this, I did the points and whatnot, and rotor. Yeah, points and rotor, and got it fired back up and running. And in this one, I've been having an issue here lately that this carb is dumping gas into the oil. So I don't know if the needle and seat stuck. When I rebuilt this carb the first time, I can't remember what I used and kept original what I used out of the rebuild kit. Because if you guys work on cars on a regular basis and buy aftermarket parts, they're usually junk a lot of times. So sometimes I try to reuse what I can that's original, but I don't know if it's worn out. Now it's letting fuel just pass by, so I had to get this done. I got fresh oil to change out after this. So I went ahead and made a start on it here. I was gonna film it, but I didn't have much time. But anyway, got everything yanked off. And if you work on Volkswagens, you'll know that back lower carb bolt, the base bolt, is kind of a pain. And the early 36 models are 14 millimeter. And making this is always a must. I have a 13 millimeter I made for my other Beetle, and I made this for this car. So it makes it real nice getting in around the fuel line and distributor cap wires and all that crap, and allows you to get that back bolt really easily. So that's why it's nice keeping the old junk Harbor Freight wrenches around, because when you need to modify them, you can. And that way I don't have to hurt any of my nice stuff, which I would never cut one of these anyway. But anyway, got that made, got it pulled off, got it sitting over here on the toolbox. So I'm gonna go ahead and start pulling this thing apart and check the needle and seat and float and whatnot and see what we got going. But this car runs absolutely fantastic. I mean, it never misses a beat. So I'm almost wondering if when I'm shutting this thing off, that needle sticking, just allowing fuel to bypass, or if it's just dumping too much while it's running. I'm not sure, because when you rev it and all that stuff, you know, it's not blowing out black smoke, you know, or smelling like it's running too rich. So I'm thinking it's happening when you shut the car off. So I don't know. I'm not the most expert on these in the world. So we'll just get her pulled apart here and see what I find. So basically just got the upper portion of the carb pulled off, got the float pulled off, and I believe I checked a couple of the jets, made sure they were correct. And then at the end here, you can see me looking at one of my original pieces of paperwork over these 28 PCI carbs. Just going over stuff, making sure I got my ducks in a row, make sure it's right, so I can basically just take off from where I'm at. Okay, as you saw in the time lapse there, getting this top portion of the carb torn down, and there wasn't a whole lot of fuel chilling this thing, but my float seems to be floating properly, and the little float rod spins freely, so it's not getting hung up or anything. But needle and seat's working properly. It's not really hanging. I didn't see anything to where it's just sticking so bad that it's not, you know, or allowing fuel to bypass or whatever. But one thing I did find going over my little printout for these 28 pick carbs, which are the early ones, which you can see right there, 54 to 60. Here's my needle and seat. It's an original Solex, but what it calls for in here, I got to reading, and let's see. It's calling for a 1 millimeter needle and seat. And let's see if we can get this thing to focus. There we go. It's got a 1.5. So I don't know if that 0.5 millimeter is enough to allow this thing to overfuel and do what it's doing. So I'm gonna do a little bit of research here real quick, and hopefully we'll get back with you and see what I can find out, because I may have to go through my parts and see if I have a 1 millimeter that's good. If not, I'll have to order a new one. So we'll get back with you and see what I figure out. All right, getting back with you here. I believe the needle and seat size is actually correct. So I got all that information figured out. So what I'm doing is, I was an idiot, and when I took this thing apart, I saw how much fuel was in the bowl and where the float was at, and not paying much attention. I let it sit, so some fuel evaporated. And then I ended up pouring some in it, checking float stuff. And then I read a nice proper procedure to do this on these carburetors, these specific carburetors. So I kind of screwed up by adding fuel to it, checking the float and or float height. So poured a little bit out of it, and then I saw a cool procedure here I've read on a forum from an older guy that does these. You're supposed to keep the carb on the car, letting it run, shut the car off, and then be able to take the top hat off of the carb, check how much. I think it's supposed to be 12 to 14 millimeters below the deck height of the carburetor top hat. And I didn't check that, so that's actually what I'm doing right now. So I got this thing rigged up in the old Wilton here, and I got it leveled out both this way and this way. I did it with the top portion off, and I got everything put back in there, and I got the original fuel line tightened up on here weird, so I can actually pour some fuel down that little guy right there until it obviously stops, where that needle and seat will stop the fuel from entering the bowl. So then I can in turn pop the top hat back off and see where my fuel level is actually at. So that way I can be like, oh, hey, it's correct, and my problem lies within maybe the rings, or letting the fuel, or the fuel's bypassing the rings and going into the crankcase, or I know my float height and stuff is wrong, and I can go about adjusting it through the little spacers on the needle and seat. So go ahead and hopefully find something here to dump some fuel down that line and see what we got. All right, so I got the thing checked, and it says it's supposed to be 12 to 14, and did a little playing, and I got it right at 14, so I'm pretty happy with that. That's about the best I can get it right now. So we're gonna put this thing back together, get it bolted back up, change the oil, and put a little zinc additive in it, and then hopefully run this thing, and we'll see what happens if it's still dumping fuel. By the looks of everything here, all my jets, everything are within spec on what these should be for a stock application. Then I would say I have issues elsewhere, and if it keeps running, it keeps running, and if I friggin' blow it up or lock it up, then she'll need a rebuild. But I guess we'll see what we can get. Go ahead and throw this back together, get it tossed back on the car, change the oil, and get it fired. All right, guys, we got it all thrown back together. Everything's hooked back up, so all I gotta do now is an oil change. So we'll get this old oil draining out of here and get the fresh put in it and fire her up and see how she does. All right, I ran out of time yesterday, but I did get the oil change done. I also checked the gear oil and the trans. Had to add a little bit to that because I got a small leak coming out of the front part of the transmission, so that'll probably have to be addressed in the future. But let's go ahead and get this thing fired up and let it warm up, and we'll take it out for a drive and see how it does. All right, we let her warm up, so we'll go ahead and take this thing out for a spin and see how it does. All right, guys, got her back in. Had to shuffle some stuff around to squeeze this one in here. We're supposed to get some storms and rain, so I didn't want this thing just sitting out, and I got the other black car in the other garage, so here she is. Ran great. So far, so good. I've checked the oil and doesn't really seem as fuel soaked as it used to be, or not as bad. It doesn't seem fuel soaked at all. So I think we definitely fixed the issue, and that'd be it for this one. There's definitely some odds and ends. I still got to keep fixing on this thing over time, but overall, this thing's a great cruiser. Cruise this thing around town quite a bit, so I'm excited to have her on the road ready for the year and get out and enjoy it. But that is going to be it for this one, guys. So we got the points changed out, went through the carburetor, adjusted all that stuff, got it running good. And the 57-150, I'll probably do another video on it, going more over what we want to do, especially when I can get over or when we get over to get the car to the storage unit, so I can show what other parts we have. So we'll probably do a whole nother video on the possible build for that before we get back into the Nomad and some other stuff at the shop. So we'll catch you in the next one. So remember to like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you then.